The deep space monitoring station on Luna Base hummed quietly in the darkness. Captain Daeho Kim sat at his desk, reviewing the daily reports when the emergency alarm suddenly filled the room with red light. He jumped up and ran to the main control center, where his team was already gathering around the massive screens. "What do we have?" Daeho asked, his heart beating fast. Communications Officer Bora Park turned to face him, her face pale. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from outside our solar system. It appears to be from an alien civilization." The words hung in the air like thunder. After decades of searching for signs of life beyond Earth, first contact was finally happening. But Daeho felt worried instead of excited. Something about this moment felt wrong. "Play the message," he ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a strange creature with blue skin and 4 arms. When it spoke, the words came through in perfect English, which immediately made Daeho suspicious. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Kelvani Empire. We have been watching your world with great interest. We come in peace and friendship. We wish to share our knowledge and technology with your young civilization. We believe we can help each other grow and prosper together." The message continued for several minutes, filled with warm words about cooperation and mutual benefit. The alien called himself Dr. Veltar and explained that the Kelvani had developed faster-than-light travel and advanced medical technology. They wanted to establish trade relations and cultural exchange programs. When the message ended, the control room fell silent. Bura looked at the data streaming across her screens and frowned. "Captain, something is strange about this transmission," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" Daeho asked. "The language patterns are too perfect. No civilization should be able to learn our language this well just from radio signals. Also, I'm detecting multiple transmission sources. This message did not come from just one ship." Daeho nodded. His military training had taught him to be suspicious of anything that seemed too good to be true. "Send this immediately to Earth. Command. Also, contact Professor Wu Jin Lee at the Cultural Institute. If anyone can analyze alien communication methods, it would be him." Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away on Earth, the alien message was causing excitement and panic in equal measure. World leaders gathered in emergency sessions while scientists tried to understand what this contact would mean for humanity. Professor Wu Jin Lee sat in his office at Seoul National University, studying the alien transmission for the 15th time. His expertise in cultural anthropology had made him one of the most requested consultants in the hours since the message arrived. As he watched Dr. Veltar speak, Wu Jin noticed small details that others had missed. The alien's body language seemed rehearsed, like an actor reading from a script. The way he paused at certain moments suggested he was waiting for expected human reactions. Wu Jin opened his computer and began searching through historical databases. He had a theory that was making him very uncomfortable. After 3 hours of research, he found what he was looking for: the communication patterns, the timing of pauses. Even some of the specific phrases used by Dr. Veltar matched techniques that human psychologists use to manipulate people. It was as if someone had studied human psychology textbooks and created the perfect manipulation script. He immediately called Admiral So-Young Choi, commander of Earth's United Fleet. "Admiral, we have a serious problem," Wu Jin said when the call connected. "I believe this first contact is not what it appears to be." "Explain." Admiral Choi replied curtly. "The aliens are using psychological manipulation techniques that are specifically designed to work on humans. They have studied us far more carefully than they want us to believe. This is not a friendly first contact. This is the beginning of a conquest." Admiral Choi was quiet for a long moment. "Professor, I need you to work with Dr. Hyan Wu Nam from the Defense Psychology Division. I want a complete analysis of their methods within 48 hours. Understood, Admiral?" Back on Luna Base, Captain Daeho was coordinating with Earth's defense networks when Biora called him over to her station. "Captain, you need to see this. I have been monitoring all frequencies since the alien message arrived. Look at what I found." She showed him a series of very weak signals that were almost hidden in the background noise of space. These signals started broadcasting the moment after the official message ended. They are using the same technology as the main transmission, but they are much more subtle. "What are they transmitting?" Daeho asked. "I am not sure yet, but I think they are scanning our communication networks. They might be trying to learn about our technology and military capabilities." Daeho felt a chill run down his spine. If the aliens were secretly gathering intelligence while pretending to be friendly, it meant Professor Wujin's theory was correct. This was not first contact. This was the beginning of an invasion. 3 days later, the Kelvani sent a second message. This time, Dr. Valter offered specific gifts to humanity: advanced solar power technology, medical treatments for cancer and genetic diseases, and improved materials for space travel. The offer seemed generous, but Dr. Haiyan Wu Nam had finished his analysis. He called an emergency meeting with Admiral Choi and Professor Wu Jian. "The psychological profile is clear," Dr. Nam explained. The Kelvani are using a technique called dependency creation. They offer just enough help to make us grateful and dependent, but not enough to make us truly equal. They want us to see them as benefactors rather than partners. Professor Wu Jin added his own findings. "I have been researching similar patterns in Earth's history. Every time a technologically advanced civilization contacted a less advanced one with offers of help and friendship, it ended in conquest or exploitation. The Spanish with the Aztecs, European colonizers in Africa and Asia. The pattern is always the same." Admiral Choi listened carefully to both reports. "So, what do you recommend?" "We pretend to be exactly what they think we are," Dr. Nam said. "Primitive, grateful, and easy to manipulate. Meanwhile, we study everything about them and prepare for what is really coming." "Can we do that convincingly?" Admiral Choi asked. Professor Wu Jin smiled grimly. "Admiral, humans have been pretending to be weak while planning rebellion for thousands of years. It might be our greatest skill." The plan began immediately. Earth's leaders would respond to the Kelvani with enthusiasm and gratitude, accepting their gifts while secretly studying every piece of technology they provided. Captain Daeho and his team on Luna Base would continue monitoring alien communications while pretending to be impressed by their superiority. Most importantly, they would begin preparing humanity for a war that most people did not yet know was coming. As Captain Daeho looked out at the stars that night, he wondered how many other civilizations had fallen for the Kelvani's friendly deception. But he also felt something that Dr. Veltar had not expected from primitive humans. He felt ready for the challenge ahead. 6 months had passed since the first alien message arrived at Luna Base. During this time, Kelvani had sent regular communications filled with friendship and promises of shared knowledge. They had even delivered some basic technology as gifts, including improved solar panels and simple medical scanners, to the outside world. Earth's leaders appeared grateful and excited about these alien friends. But behind closed doors, a different story was unfolding in a secret meeting room beneath the United Nations building in New York. Ambassador Min Ho-yoon studied the latest intelligence reports as Earth's chosen representative for alien contact. He had spent months preparing for what everyone knew was coming. "The invitation has arrived," Admiral Soyoung Choi announced as she entered the room. "The Kelvani want to host a cultural exchange summit on their capital world. They are calling it a historic moment for both civilizations." Colonel Yoon Ji Shin, Earth's top military advisor, looked up from her tablet. "How many humans are they?" "Requesting a delegation of 12, Admiral Choi replied. "They want government officials, scientists, and cultural representatives. They have even offered to transport us using their faster dying light ships." Ambassador Yoon nodded slowly. This was exactly what Professor Wu Jinli had predicted. Aliens would invite human leaders to their home world to demonstrate their superiority and pressure them into accepting unfavorable agreements. I will lead the delegation, Minho said. Colonel Shen, I want you as my military advisor. We also need Dr. Taeyong Kong from the Advanced Physics Division. Sir, are you sure about this? Colonel Shen asked. We will be completely at their mercy once we leave Earth. That is exactly what they want us to think, Minho replied with a slight smile. But we have some advantages they do not know about. 3 weeks later, the human delegation stood on the launch pad at Cape Canaveral, watching as a Kelvani transport ship landed with a sound like thunder. The ship was enormous, at least 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Dr. Taeyong Kong carried a special briefcase that appeared to contain only scientific instruments and data tablets. In reality, it held some of Earth's most advanced secret recording and analysis equipment, disguised to look primitive by alien standards. As they boarded the alien ship, Ambassador Yoon played his role perfectly. He looked around with wide eyes, making comments about how amazing everything was. The Kelvani crew members smiled with satisfaction, clearly pleased by his apparent awe. The journey to Valkyris took 3 days. During this time, the humans were given tours of the ship and allowed to ask questions about Kelvani technology. Dr. Kong secretly recorded everything while pretending to take simple notes. When they arrived at the alien capital world, the humans were taken to a massive city that stretched as far as they could see. The buildings were tall and strange, made from materials that seemed to glow with their own light. Welcome to Valkyris, announced their guide, a high-ranking Kelvani official named Zul Korath. This city has stood for over 2,000 years. It is home to 40 million citizens and serves as the center of our great empire. The tour was clearly designed to impress and intimidate. They were shown massive factories that could build starships in days, research centers with technology that seemed like magic, and military bases with weapons that could destroy entire planets. At each stop, Zul Korath made sure to point out how primitive Earth technology was in comparison. Your species has such potential, he would say with fake kindness. With our guidance, you could achieve wonders beyond your current imagination. But Dr. Kong was noticing things that their hosts did not want them to see. Many of the advanced technologies showed signs of being assembled from different sources. The architectural styles in the city were inconsistent, as if buildings had been copied from several different civilizations. Most importantly, he spotted what appeared to be other alien species working in the factories and research centers. Wore simple clothes and seemed to be following orders rather than working as equals. Colonel, he whispered to Yunji during a quiet moment, I think we are seeing conquered species, not allies. Colonel Shin nodded grimly. She had noticed the same thing. The Kelvani Empire was not built on cooperation, it was built on conquest and forced labor. On the final day of their visit, they were brought to the Great Council Chamber where Chancellor Krexnall waited with the proposed treaty. The document was presented on a tablet made from what appeared to be pure crystal. Chancellor Krexnall was larger than the other Kelvani they had met, with darker blue skin and golden markings that showed his high rank. When he spoke, his voice filled the enormous room without any visible amplification system. Akipo of Earth, he began. Today, we offer you membership in the greatest civilization the galaxy has ever known. This treaty will bring your world under our protection and guidance. In return, you will provide resources and labor to help maintain our empire. Ambassador Yoon read through the treaty terms while maintaining his expression of grateful excitement. The document was even worse than they had expected. Earth would essentially become a colony, required to provide raw materials, food, and workers to the Kelvani Empire. Humans would receive some basic technology in return, but would have no voice in how their world was governed. This is so generous, Minho said, playing his role perfectly. Okay, but such an important decision requires careful consideration. I must return to Earth and discuss this with our leaders. Chancellor Crexenel's eyes narrowed slightly. This was not the immediate acceptance he had expected. Of course, you need time to appreciate the magnitude of our offer, but do not take too long. There are many worlds that would be grateful for such an opportunity. The threat was clear, even though it was wrapped in polite words. That evening, as the human delegation prepared for their return journey, Dr. Kong made his most important discovery while exploring the ship that would take them home. He found evidence that much of the Kelvani technology had been stolen or copied from other species. The faster-than-light engines showed design elements from at least 3 different civilizations. The computer systems used programming languages that were clearly developed by someone else. Even their advanced weapons appeared to be improved versions of technology taken from conquered worlds. They are not the brilliant inventors they pretend to be, he told Ambassador Yoon and Colonel Shin in the privacy of their quarters. They are thieves and conquerors who have built their empire by stealing from others. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Engineer Jae-Sung-go was making his own discoveries. The Kelvani gifts that had seemed so generous were revealing their true purpose. Hidden inside the improved solar panels and medical scanners were tiny devices that were clearly meant for surveillance. But Jae-Sung had found something even more interesting. The surveillance devices were more advanced than their obvious functions, but they were not perfect. With the right modifications, they could be turned around to spy on the Kelvani instead. Admiral, he reported to Saw Young Choi, these devices use quantum entanglement for instant communication across any distance. If we can reverse engineer this technology, we could have our own galaxy-wide communication network. Admiral Choi smiled grimly. Do it. Make sure the Kelvani do not know what we are doing. As the human delegation's ship approached Earth, Ambassador Yoon looked at the blue planet growing larger in the view screen. In a few hours, he would have to give his report to the world's leaders and tell them that humanity was facing its greatest challenge, but he was no longer worried. The Kelvani had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that because humans appeared primitive, they were also stupid. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The emergency session of the United Nations had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in the Great Assembly Hall, waiting to hear Ambassador Minho Yoon's official response to the Kelvani Treaty. Chancellor Crexenel appeared on the massive screen. His forearms folded in what humans had learned was a gesture of impatience among his species. Behind him stood several other high-ranking Kelvani officials, all expecting to witness humanity surrender. People of Earth, Chancellor Crexenel began, his voice carrying the tone of someone who was used to being obeyed. We have been most generous with our time. Surely you have had enough opportunity to appreciate the benefits of joining our empire. What is your decision? Ambassador Yoon stood up slowly, holding the crystal tablet containing the treaty. Every person in the room knew this moment would change the course of human history. The question was whether it would be the beginning of Earth's enslavement or something entirely different. Chancellor Crexenel, Minho said in a calm, clear voice. After careful consideration and discussion with the leaders of all Earth's nations, you must respectfully decline your treaty. The silence that followed was deafening. Chancellor Crexenel's expression changed from confident expectation to complete shock. In over 300 years of expanding their empire, no species had ever refused their offer at this stage. You refuse? The Chancellor asked, his voice rising with anger. Do you not understand what we're offering you? Do you not comprehend the alternative? We understand perfectly, Ambassador Yoon replied. You are offering us slavery, disguised as friendship, if you want to turn Earth into another one of your colonies, just like the 17 other worlds you have conquered. Chancellor Crexenel's eyes widened. How could these primitive humans know about the other conquered worlds. That information was supposed to be classified. You are making a serious mistake, the Chancellor said, his voice now carrying a clear threat. Our military forces are vastly superior to anything your world possesses. If you will not join us willingly, we will take what we need by force. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. Ambassador Yoon smiled, and it was not the grateful, naive smile that Kelvani had become accustomed to seeing from humans. Chancellor, before you make any decisions you might regret, I think you should speak with General Dong-Hyun Lim, Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. The screen split, and General Lim appeared alongside the alien leader. The general was a stern-looking man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had spent his entire life preparing for war. Chancellor Krexenol, General Lim began, I believe there are some things about humanity that you have not properly understood. What could a primitive species like yours possibly teach us? The Chancellor sneered. For starters, the fact that we are not as primitive as you think. General Lim pressed a button on his control panel. Computer, display operation, looking. Class. Suddenly, the screens around the UN Assembly Hall lit up with detailed maps of Kelvani space. Every ship, every base, every communication relay was marked and tracked in real time. You see, Chancellor, while you thought you were spying on us with your surveillance devices, we were actually using them to spy on you. Every piece of technology you gave us has been reverse engineered and improved. Your entire fleet is now visible to us at all times. Chancellor Krexenol stared at the displays in disbelief. This is impossible. Your technology is centuries behind. Ours was centuries behind yours, corrected Dr. Yuri Song as she joined the conversation. Dr. Yuri Song, Director of Earth's Quantum Research Division. We have not only reverse engineered your faster-than-light communication technology, we have made it significantly better. To prove her point, Dr. Song activated a communication link that connected Earth directly to several other star systems. One by one, alien faces appeared on the screen. But these were not Kelvani. They were representatives of the species that the Empire had conquered. Chancellor, said a being with green skin and large eyes. I am Clethmar, speaking for the people of Zarian Prime. Thanks to the humans, we now have the technology and coordination to break free from your oppression. Another alien, this one, with silver skin and no visible mouth, communicated through translated text. The mining colonies of the Rigel system are no longer under your control. We have reclaimed our freedom. One by one, representatives from 12 different star systems declared their independence from the Kelvani Empire. Each had been secretly contacted by Earth and provided with the technology and strategic support needed to overthrow their oppressors. Chancellor Krexenol's confident expression had completely disappeared. How is this possible? We have been monitoring Earth's communications for months. There was no sign of contact with other worlds. Captain Haewon Kim of the Earth starship Defiance appeared on screen from the bridge of humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. The ship had been built in secret using improved Kelvani technology and was currently orbiting the Kelvani capital. World Chancellor, you monitored the communications you expected to see, Captain Kim explained. We have been using quantum encrypted channels that your technology cannot detect. While you were watching our public broadcasts, we were coordinating a galaxy-wide rebellion through networks you never knew existed. The truth was devastating for the Kelvani leader. Not only had humanity refused to submit, they had somehow managed to turn his own empire against him. Everything he thought he knew about human capabilities had been completely wrong. This is an act of war, Chancellor Krexenol declared, his voice shaking with rage. Okay, we will destroy your world and every world that has joined this rebellion. What fleet? Asked Commander Sangmin Park, Earth's intelligence chief, as he appeared on screen. While you were focusing on us, our allies have been busy. Okay, take a look at your own forces. The display changed to show the Kelvani military bases throughout their empire. At each location, the alien ships sat motionless in their docks, their systems offline. Every piece of technology you gave us contained quantum processors, Commander Park explained. We used those processors to create a virus that could spread through your computer networks. Right now, 60% of your fleet cannot start their engines, and the remaining ships have had their weapon systems disabled. Chancellor Crexonel tried to give orders to his military commanders, but found that his communication systems were no longer responding properly. The humans had not only infiltrated his surveillance network, they had taken control of it. How did you know? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. How did you see through our deception? Professor Wu Jinli stepped forward to answer. Chancellor, you made the same mistake that many powerful civilizations have made throughout history. You assumed that, because we appeared less advanced, we were also less intelligent. Your manipulation techniques work on species that have never encountered them before, added Dr. Haiyan Wu Nam. But humans have been using psychological warfare against each other for thousands of years. We recognized your methods because we invented most of them. The truth is, Ambassador Yoon concluded, humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt and learn. You gave us 6 months to study your technology, your tactics, and your weaknesses. That was more than enough time. Chancellor Crexonel looked around at his advisors, but they were all staring at their own screens in shock. The reports coming in from across the empire were all the same. Colony after colony was declaring independence. Military bases were falling silent. The great Kelvani Empire was collapsing. What do you want from us? The Chancellor asked, his arrogance finally replaced by fear. We want you to learn what it means to coexist instead of conquer, Ambassador Yoon replied. The age of the Kelvani Empire is over. The age of the Free Worlds Coalition has begun. As the transmission ended, Ambassador Yoon looked around at the assembly hall filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to smile with genuine satisfaction. Humanity had not only survived first contact with a hostile alien empire, they had liberated an entire galaxy from oppression, and they had done it not through superior technology or military might, but through the one thing that had made humans successful throughout their history. They had outsmarted their enemies. 3 days had passed since humanity's dramatic rejection of the Kelvani Treaty. Across 12 star systems, the carefully planned rebellion was unfolding exactly as Earth strategists had predicted. But for Chancellor Crexonel, watching his empire crumble from his command center on Valkyris, the situation felt like a nightmare from which he could not wake up. Sir, we have lost contact with the Rigel mining colonies, reported his communications officer, her voice trembling with fear. The last message we received said the workers had taken control of the orbital platforms. What about the defense fleet stationed there? Chancellor Crexonel demanded. The ships are not responding to our commands. Their computer systems appear to have been compromised. On Earth, Commander Sangmin Park watched the same events unfold from his command center, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Multiple screens showed real-time updates from every liberated world, and the reports were overwhelmingly positive. The Zarian system has successfully disabled the Kelvani garrison, reported his aide, Lieutenant Juna Suohan. They are requesting technical support to completely remove the surveillance networks. Approved, Commander Park replied. Send them the quantum decryption codes. What about the Andorian colonies? Free, as of 2 hours ago, the population had been planning their own rebellion for years. Our technology just gave them the tools they needed to succeed. Commander Park nodded with satisfaction. The plan that had taken months to coordinate was working better than anyone had dared to hope. But he knew the most dangerous part was still ahead. A cornered enemy often became desperate and desperate enemies made unpredictable choices. Back on Valkyries, Chancellor Krexnall was discovering just how thoroughly the humans had infiltrated his empire. Every attempt to communicate with his military commanders resulted in the same response. Their systems had been compromised, their ships disabled, their authority undermined. "How could we have been so blind?" asked his military advisor, General Tokfereth. "These humans appeared so primitive when we first contacted them." "They were never primitive," replied Dr. Veltar, the xenobiologist who had first recommended Earth as an easy target. "I have been reviewing their history, and I now understand our mistake. Humans have been fighting wars of deception for thousands of years. They are experts at appearing weak while secretly preparing for battle." Chancellor Krexnell slammed his fist against the control panel. "I do not care about their history. I want to know how to stop them." "Sir," interrupted another officer, "we have an incoming transmission from Earth." The main screen activated, showing President Sujin sitting in what appeared to be a simple office. She wore no military uniform or symbols of power, just a plain business suit. Her calm demeanor was somehow more intimidating than any threat the Chancellor had ever heard. "Chancellor Krexnall," President O began, "I am calling to discuss the terms of your surrender." "Surrender?" the Chancellor roared. "The Kelvani Empire does not surrender to anyone, especially not to a species that has barely learned to travel between planets." President O's expression did not change. "Chancellor, let me explain your current situation. 68% of your military fleet is offline. 15 of your 17 conquered worlds have declared independence. In war, communication networks are under our control. And most importantly, your own people are beginning to question your leadership." As if to prove her point, the screen split to show scenes from across the Kelvani Empire. On world after world, Kelvani citizens were gathering in public spaces, demanding answers from their government. Many carried signs asking why their leaders had lied to them about the nature of their empire. "You see, Chancellor, we did not just liberate your conquered species, we also shared the truth with your own people. They are learning for the first time that their great empire was built on slavery and oppression rather than cooperation and progress." Dr. Jihoon Eso, Earth's behavioral psychologist, appeared alongside President O. "Chancellor, your own psychologists understand the power of truth. When people discover they have been lied to by their leaders, they naturally begin to question everything they have been told. This is psychological warfare," Chancellor Krexnell accused. "Yes, it is," Dr. Seo replied without apology. "He used psychological manipulation to conquer 17 worlds and enslave billions of people. We are simply using the same techniques to set them free." The Chancellor tried to maintain his composure, but the reports flowing into his command center were becoming worse by the hour. The rebellion was spreading faster than his remaining forces could respond. Even worse, some of his own military units were beginning to refuse orders. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "Admiral Zerkith is requesting permission to speak with you privately." Chancellor Krexnall accepted the call, hoping that at least one of his senior commanders had found a way to fight back against the humans. But when Admiral Zerkith appeared on screen, his expression was grim. "Chancellor, I must speak honestly. The humans have not just defeated our technology, they have defeated our entire way of thinking. Our own officers are asking me why we never tried to build alliances instead of conquering everyone we met." "You are questioning me as well?" the Chancellor asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "I am questioning everything, sir. For 300 years, we have told ourselves that conquest was the only way to build a strong civilization. But these humans have created something more powerful than our empire in just 6 months. They did it through cooperation, not domination." Meanwhile, on the liberated world of Zarian Prime, former slaves were working alongside human advisors to establish their new government. Klethmar, who had spoken during the earlier broadcast, stood in what had once been a Kelvani administrative building. My people, he addressed the crowd gathered outside. Today, we begin to rebuild our world, not as subjects of an empire, but as free citizens of our own nation. The crowd cheered, but Klethmer raised his hand for silence. We must remember that our freedom came not from our own strength alone, but from the wisdom and courage of our human allies. They showed us that the strongest weapon against oppression is not violence, but truth. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On world after world, newly liberated populations were establishing democratic governments, forming trade alliances, and beginning to repair the damage caused by centuries of Kelvani rule. Back on Earth, General Donghan Lim was coordinating the final phase of the operation. His staff worked around the clock to provide technical support to the liberated worlds while monitoring Kelvani military movements. "General," reported his intelligence officer, "we are detecting movement from the remaining Kelvani fleet. It appears they are attempting to regroup for a final assault." "How many ships?" General Lim asked. "Approximately 300 vessels, sir. They appeared to be converging on Earth's location." General Lim studied the tactical display. 300 ships was still a formidable force, even with their systems partially compromised. "Alert all allied worlds. If the Kelvani want a final battle, we will give them one they will never forget." But as the Kelvani fleet approached Earth's solar system, they found something they had not expected. Instead of a single planet defended by primitive technology, they encountered a coordinated defense force representing dozens of worlds and species, ships that had been built using Kelvani technology but improved by human engineering filled space. Round Earth, former slaves now fought as equals alongside their liberators, united by a common cause that was stronger than any empire. Captain Hae-Won Kim, commanding the defense fleet from the bridge of the Defiance, opened a communication channel to the approaching Kelvani forces. "Kelvani fleet, this is Captain Kim of the Free World's Defense Force. You are entering the sovereign space of the Earth's coalition. State your intentions." The response came from Admiral Zerkith himself. "Captain Kim, we come not to attack, but to surrender. The Kelvani Empire is finished. We wish to discuss terms for a peaceful transition." Captain Kim looked around at her bridge crew, all of whom had worked tirelessly to reach this moment. After months of secret planning and careful strategy, the impossible had happened. The mighty Kelvani Empire, which had conquered 17 worlds and oppressed billions of people for 3 centuries, was surrendering to a species they had once considered primitive and easy to manipulate. "Admiral Zerkith," Captain Kim replied, "prepared to be boarded. Ambassador Yoon will discuss surrender terms with you shortly." The first Kelvani ships powered down their weapons and prepared to surrender. Captain Kim reflected on how completely the tables had turned. The aliens, who had thought humans would be easy to control, were now asking for mercy from the very people they had tried to enslave. The age of the Kelvani Empire was truly over. 1 year after the surrender of the Kelvani fleet, the Galaxy Conference Center orbited peacefully above Earth. The massive space station had been built using technology from dozens of different worlds, each contributing their best innovations to create something that belonged to all free species equally. President Su Jin-oh stood at the podium in the main assembly hall, looking out at representatives from 43 different worlds. Humans sat alongside Xerians and Dorians, reformed Kelvani, species that had been enslaved for so long that many had forgotten what freedom felt like. "Friends and allies," President Oh began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation. "Systems that allowed every species to understand each other. Today marks the first anniversary of the end of the Kelvani Empire and the birth of our Free Worlds Coalition." The applause that followed came in many different forms. Some species clapped their hands, others made musical sounds, and a few showed approval by changing the color of their skin. But the meaning was the same across all cultures. They were celebrating their shared freedom. When humanity first encountered the Kelvani, President O continued, we could have responded with fear or hatred. Instead, we chose to respond with wisdom and compassion. We saw beyond their lies to the truth that all thinking beings deserve to live in freedom. In the audience, Ambassador Min Ho-yoon listened with pride as the president spoke. The past year had been filled with challenges as dozens of worlds worked together to build something that had never existed before. A true democracy that spanned the stars. Former Chancellor Krexnel sat in a special section reserved for Kelvani, who were working to make up for their past crimes. His once proud bearing had been replaced by the humble posture of someone who had learned the true cost of his actions. Next to him sat Dr. Tolver, Kelvani scientist who had become one of the most effective advocates for peaceful cooperation. The old empire was built on a lie. Dr. Tolver had told the Coalition Council months earlier. We told ourselves that conquest was natural and that the strong had the right to rule the weak. The humans showed us that true strength comes from helping others become strong as well. Dr. Nayeon Kim, now director of the Interspecies Cultural Institute, had spent the year developing new protocols for first contact between species. Her work ensured that what happened with the Kelvani could never happen again. Every species has something valuable to contribute, she explained to new members joining the coalition. Our differences make us stronger, not weaker. When we work together, we can solve problems that no single world could handle alone. The results spoke for themselves. In just 1 year, the coalition had developed faster ships, better medicine, cleaner energy, communication systems that could connect any world instantly. Technology that the Kelvani had hoarded for centuries was now being shared freely among all member worlds. Captain Haewon Kim, now Admiral of the Coalition Defense Force, had overseen the transformation of former Kelvani military bases into research stations and rescue centers. Instead of weapons meant to conquer, these facilities now housed equipment designed to help and protect. We maintain our defense capabilities, she explained to skeptics who worried about leaving their worlds vulnerable, but we use them to protect freedom, not to destroy it. Our ships rescue people from natural disasters, explore new worlds for scientific knowledge, and defend any world that asks for our help. The transformation had not been without challenges. Some former Kelvani officials had attempted to restart their empire on distant worlds. A few conquered species had struggled with the concept of self-governance after centuries of being told what to do, and there were always new threats emerging from unexplored regions of space. But each challenge had been met with the same approach that had defeated the original empire: cooperation instead of conquest, understanding instead of intimidation, truth instead of deception. General Dongyan Lim had been instrumental in helping former slave worlds build their own defense forces. Instead of creating armies to fight each other, these forces worked together to protect their shared freedom. The best defense against tyranny, he often said, is a well-informed population that knows its rights and is willing to defend them. Commander Sang-min Park had established the Galaxy Intelligence Service, but unlike the Kelvani surveillance networks, this organization focused on sharing information rather than hiding it. Their mission was to detect threats to freedom early and help member worlds prepare to defend themselves. Dr. Hyan Woo-nam had started a new field of study called cooperative psychology, which focused on understanding how different species could work together effectively. His research was helping to prevent the misunderstandings that had led to conflicts in the past. As President Oh continued her speech, she looked directly at the section where human delegates sat. Captain Dae-ho Kim, now Admiral of Luna Base, smiled as he remembered that first day when the alien message had arrived. Communications Officer Bora Park, promoted to Director of Interstellar Communications, was monitoring dozens of channels simultaneously, ensuring that every world stayed connected. Professor Wu Jin Li had become the coalition's leading expert on preventing cultural manipulation. His work was taught at universities on every member world, ensuring that future generations would recognize and resist attempts at chronological conquest. Engineer Jays Sungo had established the Technology Sharing Initiative, which made sure that innovations developed on any world were quickly available to all others. The rapid progress this created had amazed even the most optimistic scientists. But our greatest achievement, President O said as her speech reached its conclusion, is not the technology we have developed or the worlds we have liberated. Our greatest achievement is proving that intelligence and compassion are more powerful than fear and force. She paused to let her words be translated, then continued. The Kelvani Empire lasted for 300 years because it was built on the idea that some beings were naturally superior to others. Our coalition will last much longer because it is built on the truth that all thinking beings have equal worth and equal rights. The applause this time was thunderous and lasted for several minutes. When it finally died down, President O made one final announcement. Today, I am proud to announce that 3 more worlds have requested membership in our coalition. The people of Sigma Draconis, the crystal beings of Altair 7, and the ocean dwellers of Kepler 442b have all chosen freedom over isolation. As the ceremony ended and delegates began to mingle, former Chancellor Craig Snell approached Ambassador Yoon. The 2 beings who had once been enemies now worked together on the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. Ambassador, Craig Snell said quietly, I must ask you something that has troubled me for months. How did your species learn to see beyond our deception so quickly? Minho smiled gently. Chancellor, humans have always been good at recognizing lies because we have told so many to each other throughout our history. But we also learned something important from all those conflicts. The truth always wins in the end, and it costs much less than war. And now we all benefit from that wisdom, Crexino replied. My people are learning things about cooperation and democracy that we never knew were possible. We are becoming better than we ever were as conquerors. As the space station continued its orbit around Earth, Admiral Daeho Kim stood at an observation window watching the beautiful blue planet below. Ships from dozens of worlds moved peacefully through Earth's solar system, carrying goods, knowledge, and friendship between the stars. He thought back to that moment 1 year ago when humanity had faced its greatest test. The aliens had thought humans would be easy to manipulate because they appeared weak and divided. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or military power, but something much more dangerous to tyrants: ability to inspire others to be free. The Kelvani had conquered 17 worlds through fear and deception. Humanity had liberated 43 worlds through hope and truth. The difference between conquest and liberation was the difference between a prison and a school. One created slaves who obeyed out of fear. The other created allies who chose to work together because it made everyone stronger. As Admiral Kim watched another ship arrive, carrying delegates from a distant world, requesting coalition membership, he smiled. The galaxy was becoming exactly what humanity had always believed it could be: a place where every thinking being had the right to choose their own destiny and the wisdom to help others do the same. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it would last as long as there were beings in the universe who valued freedom more than power, truth more than convenience, and hope more than fear.